Anytime that someone black tells you that you have a requirement of being monolithic, meaning that, hey, you know what, you've got to be, you've got to conform to this group thought. And if you dare venture away from this group thought, then that means you're not black enough. That means you're a sellout. That means you're Uncle Tom. That kind of brainwashing process says that you don't have a right to be free. You don't have a right to think for yourself. You don't have a right to be what God created you to be, and that is an individual creation. You must conform to this false notion that you have to be a robot. That's what people are asking you to be when they say, well, if you decide to be a Republican, you're a sellout. Or if you decide to be some other religion, if you're not a Baptist, if you're not an Episcopalian, if you're not an African Methodist Episcopal, well, you know what, I want to be a Catholic. Oh, well, I want to be something other than what's predominant in this community. Well, you ought to have a right to do that without somebody telling you you're not black enough. What does the color of your skin have to do with something like that? It's ridiculous. We're killing ourselves. We're not only killing ourselves physically, but we're killing ourselves emotionally. We're killing ourselves spiritually. Now, I was blessed. I graduated from a leadership group called the Great Lakes Bay African American Leadership Training Institute. That's a mouthful. I know already. I'll try that one more time. The Great Lakes Bay African American Leadership Training Institute. It really started off as the Saginaw Valley African American Leadership Training Institute. Now, this was founded by an American who happens to be black, who happened to be Republican. And it was sponsored and supported by the local Chamber of Commerce. Now, what this gentleman invited me to come and be a part of this institute. I didn't really know what I was getting into. At the time, I was just looking for a way to launch some of my ideas. And, I knew I wanted to be a business owner. I knew I wanted to do some things. And I was frustrated because I wasn't quite achieving what I wanted to do. And he said, hey, I really think that you ought to come and get involved with this institution. It'd be a great way for you to accomplish your goals, get some professional development, develop some relationships. Well, this was sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. One of the first things I noticed was that every chamber event I went to, there were no black people there. Just myself and some of the other black members of this organization and the black founder. But before he created that organization, there were no black people in the Chamber of Commerce and in the local community. And what I realized was that because they welcomed me with open arms. They welcomed all of us with open arms. And they were excited to see us, not just because we were some black tokens, but because they really were excited that we were seeking new opportunities. They were excited that we were looking to build bridges. They were excited that we were taking down these invisible walls that we had built up around ourselves, and that we had went beyond our assumptions that they were against us when really they were for us. And they were excited that we were in that space, and they were more than willing to help us if we were willing to earn it. They still didn't give us anything. I still had to compete. I still had to get out there and scrape and scramble, but doors were open for me that were not open for me until I figured out that there were no permanent boundaries around me that I didn't place around myself. And so this is a thing that we've got to learn in the black community. There are no permanent boundaries around us that we don't place around ourselves. But yet, the so-called leaders in our community are not trying to help us develop relationships with your local Chamber of Commerce, with your local business relationships, with the Small Business Association. Now, some of these small business associations, they're manipulating government too. But some of them are doing good work in terms of helping people write business plans and doing some good things, helping you understand financial literacy. But in some of these communities that I've lived in, they're actually turning you away from those things and telling you that it's the government's fault or some party's fault. At the end of the day, it's really a false reality. We've got these snakes under the carpet that we've created because we've been listening to people for 50-something years, probably at least 50 years, tell us that it's the government's responsibility. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go back to what I said. We've got to go back to our first works. Remember the Absalom Joneses. Remember the Frederick Douglasses. Remember the Booker T. Washingtons. And what about the fact that when we were freed from slavery, do you know that the first several hundred black politicians in the South were all black Republicans? It's very interesting, isn't it? And for everybody that says that the Democrat Party is the party of civil rights and the Republican Party is the party of racism and white supremacy, did you know that over 1,000 whites were lynched by Democrats after slavery because they were fighting for emancipation? They were fighting for equality, so they were being lynched right along with black people. Did you know that the Democrats actually fought against the Civil Rights Bill of 1965? Did you know that? Did you know that the Democrats actually fought against the Voting Rights Act of 1964? Did you know that the Democrats continue to fight against equality in education and labor today, and yet they will tell you that the Republican Party is against jobs and against education? Folks, you better pay attention. Pay attention to the voting records. That's what you do. Don't listen to the rhetoric. I don't care whether it's a Republican, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether it's a Republican, doesn't matter whether it's a Democrat, doesn't matter whether it's an independent. Take the time and pay attention to how politicians are voting. What are they actually doing, not just what are they saying. And you're going to find out that the people that are in these urban communities saying that they're working for you are really working against you.